Like a lot of people, yesterday I was watching Donald Trump, 47th President of the United States, address the various douchebags at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And I'm on the very last leg of what has now been a months-long road trip. People saw I went and was looking for the allegedly missing John Cullen. Not missing, located right outside his house where I knew he was when an apparent social engineering campaign was orchestrated, I suspect, to smear me, harm my reputation, and to try to convince people not to sponsor the show. I rely on sponsors, people who go to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and sponsor the show for $5 a month. You can also do it on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. People can choose to send payments of any amount on paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. You can also follow me on X at JG_CSTT. You can subscribe there. You're going to get access to the same sponsor exclusive content. I did a sponsor exclusive video right outside John Cullen's house. You can see him yelling at me and acting like a maniac. Some people say, oh, I'm not going to pay $5 to watch that. I said, well, okay, then you obviously don't care that much about it. Nobody has to do it. But the point is, rather than having a bunch of sponsors, whether it's YouTube or Coca-Cola, ExxonMobil, Lockheed Martin, whatever it is, rather than having a bunch of paid sponsors who, whether you like it or not, dictate what can be spoken about. Could be Amazon, could be, Twitch, whoever it is. These various things that give you money, if you're monetized on YouTube, all of those things have an influence over what can and cannot be discussed. Remember when we had the January 6th, if they didn't like what you had to say about the election, you got kicked off. That was YouTube. Anyway, I wanted to talk about, Washington, D.C. One of the things Donald Trump said in his speech at Davos is that he's made D.C. great again. I think that might be correct. I don't know. I'm just doing sort of my regular circuit over here around the Capitol. I like this area because, first of all, I'm usually going to some hearing up at the Capitol. There's a lot of good places to park around here where the car will be safe. But what Trump is saying is that, now that they've had the National Guard and whatever, crime is down. I hope that's correct. I mean, it seems nice. It's a nice day. You compare this to other times I've been here to D.C. It's not snowing. It's not miserably cold. That's got nothing to do with Donald Trump. You know what? We could go over there to the Pettyman Courthouse and see, that there was a huge homeless encampment over there at one point in the not so distant past. Do you live in D.C.?
No, sir.
You do?
No.
Oh. Have you been around for a few days?
Just first day here.
Have you seen no crime?
None yet.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you think Trump is right that he's made D.C. great again?
I don't know. Seems cleaner than where I'm from, so.
Where are you from?
Alaska.
Alaska?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Are you excited to drill, baby, drill?
Yeah, well, if it brings up the economy, then yeah.
Yeah. Can you see Russia from your house?
No.
You look too young to know what I'm talking about with that.
With Russia?
Sarah Palin used to say that.
Yeah. I mean, it's there, but no, not from where I'm at. I'm in Anchorage.
Alaska, man, that's cool. Well, listen, have a good time. Enjoy D.C.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for talking to me. So there we go, friendly guy from Alaska. Trump is going to take over Greenland next. I like it that he made NATO just sort of be like, yeah, okay. But the real thing that's kind of got my goat, chapping my ass, as a key grip used to say to me, on set in Hollywood, where I made a lot of money at some time in the past. I'm on the last leg of this months-long road trip, and the reason it's been going on so long, there's a couple of reasons, but really one of the primary reasons are the vexatious Swigert brothers. George Webb Swigert and his malicious, mentally ill brother. These two psychopaths have been on me for 9 years, like a rash that won't go away, like herpes or some kind of bad disease that you can't get rid of. Like the rats beneath the city streets of our otherwise excellent cities. Those two are such malicious, lying, treacherous pieces of human garbage. It defies explanation, really. This is an interesting hat. How you doing?
Good.
Are you from DC?
I'm from Texas.
Texas, I like the hat. Have you been in DC a few days?
Just one.
No crime around, right?
What?
No crime around, right?
Not that I've seen.
Trump has made DC great again. Take it easy. So I see a lot of tourists around this area of DC. That guy's brave to wear the hat. But back to the scumbags I want to talk about. So George Webb, again, this is a loser who I have no interest in talking about, thinking about, interacting with. The reason this road trip has been extended for months is that his malicious, mentally ill, lunatic brother was stalking and harassing my octogenarian father. And I succeeded in helping my father obtain an injunction from the 15th Judicial Circuit in Florida, that's state court in Florida, against George's brother. What's particularly interesting about it is, most people who watch the show know, I've been in court with George and his brother for 9 years, attempting to get George's brother declared a vexatious litigant and enjoined from ever bothering me again. Something like 7 different district court judges, federal judges, have declined to do that. It's weird to me because, you see, the court has the inherent authority and obligation to protect itself from this kind of abuse, where people just come in there to manipulate the system and weaponize it against their enemies. You know, when they don't have legitimate causes of action, they just utilize the judicial process to cost money and take up time. Same kind of thing Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, many others have done to Donald Trump. We just heard last week Michael Cohen say, oh, he was coerced. Wait a minute, isn't that exactly what I said to Norm outside the district attorney's office in the courthouse there in New York City? I said, Norm, you obviously coerced Michael Cohen to pay Stormy Daniels with his own money. We know much more about where that money came from now. I've been meaning to do a show about that, but I've been on this big, long drive from Florida back to New York. And I stopped in DC, it's on the way. And I had planned to make this video about Trump and his statements in Davos and everything with Greenland, but we've got to talk about the Swigert brothers, because somebody sent me a video this morning and I was listening to it in the car. You know, you can't watch videos while you're driving, but you can listen to them. And it was a video of George Webb, all about me. And he was somehow directing it at Baron Coleman. I don't know what's going on between Baron Coleman and George Webb. I don't know if there is anything going on there. It could be George trying to provoke me to talk about it. He likes to do things like that. I have no beef with Baron Coleman. I have a beef with George. He's talking about also that guy Mitch. I don't know anything about Mitch. I don't know where Baron is on Mitch. I don't know where George is on Mitch. I don't care about Mitch. I'm talking about George. George purported to be upset that according to him, I had smeared Blake Bednarz. That is not at all what happened. Blake Bednarz, for those who don't know, is a guy that I never heard of. I guess I must have seen him around the Butler, Pennsylvania thing, because I didn't remember having ever heard of him until Charlie Kirk was murdered. And I was either tagged or somebody sent his tweet to me. Somehow the Blake Bednarz tweet was brought to my attention. This is a social engineering tactic. Sometimes it's what real people do, like for instance this morning. Somebody who sends me DMs kind of frequently, and I don't know this person, I've never met this person, but he seems a decent guy, and he's generally sending me useful and interesting things. So that's a normal mechanism, but malicious operators understand that people like me sometimes get tips and messages and DMs from people who we don't know, and if it's something interesting, we're likely to look at it. So I'm saying all of this only because it's a way that certain types of information can be sort of injected, okay? So back at the time that Charlie Kirk was murdered in September, someone, I don't remember who, directed this Blake Bednarz tweet at me, and it was Blake talking about a drone, according to him, flying out of a vent, an air vent at the UVU campus. And whoever sent it to me obviously because I was talking about drones. Video evidence that I had seen that I felt indicated that there were drones flying around the Charlie Kirk assassination. And remember, I got that video evidence from Adam Bartholomew, who looks to me like Adam was a fly in the ointment. Now, I do recall Baron Coleman doesn't like Adam, or they had some contentious argument. I know those guys don't get along. I don't want to get into the details of that. I don't know enough about that, but the point is, I just found Adam Bartholomew because he published that video. What's going on here? And the video, to me, it appeared to contain evidence that whoever was doing that Charlie Kirk murder didn't want people to see. I believe Adam Bartholomew was the victim of some sort of electronic exploit that was intended to disrupt his live stream. What do we got here?
Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm a person. Am I not allowed to be here?
Is it open? I don't know. That's a great question. Is it open?
Yeah, if it's open.
Is that Paris Hilton? Is this Paris Hilton?
Yes.
Who are you?
No one, just asking.
Yeah,
Making
mind your
sure.
own business.
Thank you.
Paris Hilton, who cares?
Oh, the guy's here.
Look at what this society has become, that guy thinks he can come over to me and say, who are you? Paris Hilton, so what? What is Paris Hilton doing? Oh, look, AOC.
Oh, okay.
I think you need to understand.
So we're not allowed to walk over here to AOC?
You can ask a question.
Yeah, but you're surrounding me, obviously blocking me from speaking to her. What kind of way is that to behave? You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. You fucked up on January 6th and you're fucking up now. AOC in a Bronco. What a disgrace. Capitol Police, what a disgrace. You can't go near her. I'll tell you, this is the world we're living in. I didn't even realize AOC was standing there. Anyway, what was I saying? Blake Bednarz. Right, somebody sends me his tweet, and is this a Dark Horse Mustang? It is. And he's talking about this drone coming out of an event. Somebody sent it to me because I had located this drone footage. Now again, if I'm correct, and Adam Bartholomew was hit by a Bluetooth low energy or some other kind of electronic exploit, they did not want you to see whatever it was that he was recording. But yet we saw it. So it stands to reason that the same people who would be operating that incredibly sophisticated electronic exploit would be sophisticated enough to have a bunch of drunk idiots and convicted criminals to try to prevent us from learning what it is that Adam saw, or to prevent it from taking hold. You know, if I'm talking about drones, they want to disrupt that story. And what's interesting about Blake Bednarz and George Webb is that they operate in the same kind of way. And what I mean by that is George likes to get right up to a story and pile shit on top of it, so that any unsuspecting person who hears about it figures, oh, this is a drunk idiot reporting nonsense about Imran Awan or the Port of Charleston or whatever it is that George gets himself involved in. Mitch, I don't know what he's saying about Mitch. I don't know what the deal is with Mitch. I don't know if Mitch is on the level or not. I haven't paid that much attention to him. My point is, Blake, he insinuated himself into the drone reporting about Charlie Kirk by stirring up a lot of false information. He fabricated information. He lied. Blake Bednarz lied and said that he used artificial intelligence to identify dots in the clear blue sky, that he loaded a bunch of frames into ChatGPT. I know he did not do that. You're talking about 120 or 140,000 frames. Just that kind of file management project is beyond the scope of an idiot like Blake sitting in his father's insurance office and doing that. That is a project for a visual effects team in Hollywood that requires high-speed networks, sophisticated computers, plus he was reassembling it into an hours, minutes, and seconds timeline with great precision, because I followed every single one of the things that he said was a drone, identified them, zoomed in, and they were not drones. They were insects and birds. This is the Supreme Court. So he got that list somehow, but it was not by putting 120 or 140,000 frames into ChatGPT. He lied about that. Why? Some people say, like, oh, so what? He's doing good work. Well, no, he's not. He's falsifying and fabricating evidence for some reason. The question it raises to me is, why would he lie about that? And who actually found all those dots? And how? And why did they tell Blake to lie? There must be some purpose. I don't know what it is, but that was weird. And he went on redacted and he lied about it. He contacted Adam Bartholomew. Bartholomew told me he didn't feel good about the communication from Blake, that Blake started telling him he saw angels in the video. I mean, you know, I don't know, maybe he did. Maybe you want to believe that. But I can tell you that if that type of information started to proliferate, a lot of people would think Blake or Adam or the video are all crazy and not to be paid attention to. That's my opinion. Anyway, what else did Blake make up? Oh yeah, when I started saying Charlie Kirk was shot from behind and there's video evidence that supports that theory, Blake said, oh, I got the original video. It's 4K 60 frames per second. But that's not what it was at all. He showed that on a Diligent Denizen video X space, and I don't think they intended for people to do this because Blake had it published on a hidden YouTube link, but I was able to extract that link from the X space, download Blake's video, analyze it, and what he had done is he just took the same 30 frame per second video that Zeb Boykin had, and he up-resed it to 4K, and he frame doubled it. So it wasn't actually 60 frames per second, it was a frame doubled 30 frames per second video, more fabricated evidence. So this is lying, this is misleading the public, and if he's doing it to get clicks and, you know, raise his profile in social media, he's kind of a fraud, okay? Moreover, he was somehow working with Gary Melton and Chris Martenson, because you remember after Chris Martenson was made a fool of in my debate with him on Owen Schroyer's show, then Chris Martenson came and said, oh, now after the fact that Jason is not here to defend himself and his information, Chris Martenson claimed to have debunked what I was saying and insisted that I call Blake Bednarz and give him the $4,000 from the evidence bounty. People can still put money into that. The contest is over. Nobody else gets it but me now. But if you go to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth, if you want to sponsor Crowdsource the Truth, you're free to do whatever you want with your money. I made it very clear on that Evidence Bounty Challenge webpage that if no one was able to disprove my evidence, the money would become sponsorship to Crowdsource the Truth. And every single person who put money there sent me a positive message saying that they knew that and they liked that. And they liked the work that I was doing. And by the way, that evidence bounty brought about the original HDR video that Blake Bednarz was very focused on debunking. You know, his little friend Tyler Young, who was also in an X space with Blake, seemed to know all about the video. When Blake exited that X space, when I wanted to ask him some technical questions about his falsified 60 frame per second video, Tyler Young took over, and he was trying to debunk my evidence, but he also failed. So I don't know, are all these guys working together? Are they somehow connected to George Webb? It seems like they are. That's what it seems like to me. So George Webb creates this video this morning where he's all upset that I have smeared Blake Bednarz. I did not smear Blake Bednarz. I didn't smear anybody. I published, and I didn't dox anyone. That's the other thing. Diligent Denizen has been pushing that. I don't trust Diligent Denizen. He's involved in a lot of these social engineering campaigns that appear to be designed to smear me. And he's another person who doesn't operate under his real name. Why would you trust someone who doesn't want to tell you their real name? It seems like he might have something to hide. Diligent Denizen, are there mugshots of you that you don't want people to see? Pretty dangerous bike rider there. So maybe crime is down in DC, but we still have incompetent and irresponsible U.S. Capitol Police that won't let you go anywhere near a congressperson, and still have insane bike riders going all around. So let's see, can we look at this here? How do we do this? Yeah, so George produced this video. He's all upset. Diligent Denizen has been involved in all of these social engineering campaigns that seem to be calculated to damage my reputation. He's the guy who started the whole "Where is John Cullen?" He has been pushing this nonsense that I doxed Blake. I did not dox Blake. Doxing is very specifically publishing the private information of someone, essentially with the malicious intent to damage them or threaten them or intimidate them, like his home address, his phone number, etc. Those guys have done that stuff to me. I did not do that to Blake. What I published on Blake were public records of criminal arrests, even a conviction here. And I did this because this is someone who I believe is involved in fraud right now. Now people say, oh, this was 10 years ago, no big deal. But you know, these are some pretty serious, some of these are some pretty serious charges in here. He's got domestic assault in here. He's got various, what has he got here? Insurance fraud claims. This is just my X timeline here. People can go here. So here, let's take a look at just this one. Okay? This is insurance fraud in the range of $20,000 to $100,000. This is a felony in Texas. Okay? And the point is, yeah, I agree. Look, if Blake, people do stupid things when they're 20. If Blake had one arrest for burglary of a house when he was 20, maybe that's not the biggest deal in the world. Seems pretty bad. But one when he's 20, I get it. He shouldn't be hung up on that for the rest of his life. But what we have here is a pattern of activity that seems to indicate that he is a serial criminal, a repeat offender, a guy who doesn't learn from going to jail and going to court. And by the way, he's got multiple plea bargain hearings associated with all of this. You know, here's another thing that George Webb said today that's not true. I did this X space earlier, a cease and desist demand. I did that while I was driving into DC here, and it got cut off as I went into a tunnel. But people can listen to that. George has lied about substantially everything that he said about me there today, and that is a cease and desist demand where I am demanding that he remove that video and his lies and issue a retraction. Because what George will do is he will take a small piece of evidence, like someone claiming to be an 18-year-old person 10 years ago sent me a message on Tinder, a platform where anyone at all can send you a message. I can't control, just like X. Anybody at all could DM me on there. I can't control who does that. Anyway, George takes that and twists it around into somehow I'm associated with Jeffrey Epstein, according to him. Completely false. One of the things that George said today is that he claimed that I'm a porno director. That's false. He's talking about this video right here, 3D bikini car wash. This is a video that I created with a bunch of friends of mine. You can still see it on YouTube at this 21st Century 3D YouTube channel. I don't want to, oh darn it. I just hit the power button and turned that off. Let's get that back, but I don't want the sound to monetize this video. Point of the matter is people can go watch that and you can see there's no pornography in that. It's two adult women wearing bathing suits like what you would see at the beach. And it's not pornography. It was a demonstration of a 3D camera that I developed that could shoot high-speed 3D. Turn the sound down. This was a demonstration of a 3D camera. You can see it looks 3D because this is a YouTube format with two girls in the same outfits they would be wearing at the beach. You could go to California or Florida right now and see something exactly like this. If this were a movie, the Motion Picture Association of America would rate this PG, not even PG-13. There's not a shred of nudity. You can see the water droplets moving slowly, because this is a high-speed 3D camera. There is no pornography here. I misspoke earlier. This is my friend who I've known since I'm 20. I said that her birthday is 5 days before mine. I'm thinking of a different friend. This woman's birthday is 1 day after mine, same year. So this is a 53-year-old woman today. She was probably 37. I don't know, we'd have to check the date that this video was made. But the point is, this is a 3D video demonstrating my 3D camera. It is not pornography. George made up a lie today. So again, my question becomes, why would he lie about something like that? What else would he and does he lie about that seems convincing? People who don't know me and haven't seen this counter evidence might believe what George said. How did I make $1 million in Hollywood? I had unique 3D technology. By the way, $1 million is not that much money. There's people who make hundreds of millions of dollars. And the point is, I had unique 3D technology at a time when everybody was shooting things in 3D. I shot the ESPN X Games, all kinds of movies, all kinds of stuff. I can't even remember all the things that George was lying about on his video today, but one of the key things that you should take notice of with George, if you are a person who has been suckered into believing him, is that he will never stand up to scrutiny. He will never agree, or so far he hasn't. I would welcome him doing this. George and I could have a conversation about everything that he alleged about me today. I'd be happy to do that. He won't, because he will be proven to be a liar. He doesn't have evidence that can prove what he was saying about me. When he's giving a monologue that isn't challenged, he can speak convincingly because he's a salesman, but he's an absolute and utter liar. There's another thing we should ask George about. He said that I tried to get him put in jail for the Port of Charleston. That's false. And people can also still see that video, the whole entire thing. Go to the highlights tab on my X reel. It's 2.5 hours of George calling in to crowdsource the truth and explaining to me that there's radioactive material on the Maersk Memphis and somebody needs to call the Coast Guard. I have alleged for years that that was a plan hatched by him and his brother and Robert David Steele and other people that was intended to get me arrested by the FBI. And in fact, years later, when I had 4 or 5 phone calls with the Columbia, South Carolina FBI office, Donald Wood, who's associated somehow with the FBI General Counsel's office, he's like the field counsel or some strange title. I said to him on our 4th or 5th phone call, I said, you know, Mr. Wood, why didn't the FBI ever call me back in 2017? This video went out on the Jason Goodman channel, and you never even called me or came to my apartment. He became very uncomfortable, ended the phone call, and never took another phone call from me again. I think the answer to my question is the FBI didn't call me because the FBI knew I had nothing to do with it. It's definitely cleaned up. There were homeless tents all over here the last time I was here. This is much better. Do people remember the last time I was here? We could go back and look at that video too. See, that's the thing. These guys are used to a world where they blitz your YouTube channel and all of your evidence and all of your videos are gone. I've been saving these videos for as long as I've been making them. I think every single crowdsource the truth video that I've ever made has been preserved. I think. Certainly most of them have. And so it's not so easy for them to lie about and smear me. I mean, they've got a bigger megaphone. Somehow George got his big YouTube channel back. Why am I not able to get mine back? It's strange. Is the FBI able to get on the phone with YouTube or somehow flag my YouTube channel and say, don't give this guy his YouTube channel back? and I go into some special category that they don't want to talk about. And even though George was alleged to have harassed Matya Banasi, and that I believe that was the source of the elimination of his YouTube channel, he got it back. How did that happen? Why is his brother able to bring something like 25 lawsuits against me in federal court across a range of districts in U.S. District Court? 6, 7 different federal judges refused to do anything to stop him. 30 minutes in a state court in Florida, and that mentally ill piece of human dung has a 10-year injunction against him. How do you like that, Dave? No guns. You blew your appeal, stupid. So go live with that. See, that to me is incredibly important because it shows us how a judge that is outside the federal system responds to this kind of behavior. It's obviously insane. You're not supposed to use the courts to harass people for 10 years. So George says that I'm selfish. Well, you see, that's not true. I actually have done a lot of things to help a lot of other people, including him. I went to Ohio when he got himself arrested. I didn't try to get him arrested with the Port of Charleston. I didn't know anything about the Port of Charleston until he called me up and he said, hey, there's a Maersk Memphis coming in. I'm gonna jaywalk right here. He's the one who called and said the Maersk Memphis is coming in and it's got radioactive material on it and somebody should call the Coast Guard. I didn't start that. He started that. How did I try to get him arrested? I flew to Ohio. I paid the cops $4,000 cash. That wasn't his money. What is he talking about? We hadn't started monetizing the channel. I didn't start the Patreon shows until Quinn Michaels was in the hospital. George makes up a lot of nonsense. He was saying that I was taking 18-year-old models for $1,000 dinners with Kobe beef steaks. False. Never happened. The only $350 Kobe beef dinner, and it wasn't one steak for $350. We went to a Japanese restaurant where we had Kobe beef steak. Maybe the bill was $350. I admit that's a lot. But two people eating Kobe beef and drinking as much as that lush, that big drunk dummy drinks could easily get to $350. That was me taking him out to dinner. As a thank you, as a reward. By the way, I also let him sleep at my apartment for like 2.5 months. So, you know, he makes it like I took something from him. Meeting him was maybe one of the worst things that ever happened to me. His fucking mentally retarded brother is like a plague. His brother needs to go to jail. But make no mistake, George and his brother are working together. Okay? So now I've disrupted something by revealing to everyone that Blake is a fraud. That's the only logical conclusion that I can come to. That's the only logical conclusion that I can come to, is that Blake was part of their team. And I arrive at that conclusion because Blake was communicating with George before I ever knew who he was. Blake was all over me. Oh yeah, George said that I approached him. This was some of the most telling testimony yet. Because while it is true that I did initially contact George, I've suspected for a long time that that was a trap. George put out a video saying, hey, who knows Lee Stranahan? And I think it would have been very easy to determine that I knew Lee Stranahan. Once I followed George on YouTube, I'm sure, 10 years ago when this was happening, I was commenting on his videos. Anybody at all could have looked. I'm very open and honest. My channel was called Jason Goodman, so you could have gone and looked at Facebook and seen, oh, here's the same guy look at his friends list. Oh, he's friends with Lee Stranahan. Ah, that's a hook. Let's say that George wants to contact Lee Stranahan. I've told this story a million times. That's how I got in touch with George. Now, he said that he had mentioned something about Ehud Barak. We're going to have to go back and listen to that Routers to Rat lines, that first George Webb interview. I don't remember if he did or didn't, but I don't understand what he was trying to prove with that. I mean, he said that he was interested in me because porn directors, which I'm not, but that was his interest in me. That's not true at all. His interest was, I had given him Lee Stranahan's phone number. He was in New York City visiting his son, who went to, I think, Columbia at the time. And I told him, I watch your channel. I'm interested in the Imran Awan investigation. Your videos suck. I don't know anything about journalism. Why don't we team up and I'll help you make videos and we can make a YouTube channel together and maybe we can turn it into something. And he said, sure. Everything he's talking about now is concocted nonsense, which is what he loves. He loves making up concocted nonsense. Nothing to do with the actual truth. So anybody who watches George Webb and thinks that he's great and I'm a jerk, you know, you might as well just go watch a football game and root for a team because you like the color of their jerseys, because I don't really care. You know, I'm not doing this to make friends, and I'm not trying to be popular. I'm trying to get to the truth of some very problematic issues. I'm trying to share that with everybody, and hopefully I can earn money in doing it. That's what I consider journalism. You know, if I wanted to be popular, like if I was an actor or a comedian or a music person or whatever, I wouldn't become political. I wouldn't state my opinions like this. So I'm not asking people to like me and not like George. Dig into the information. If you trust George, ask him, where is the pro se filing receipt for ECF number 12, electronic court filing number 12 in Swigert versus Cable News Network? Why will he block anyone who asks for that? Why has he refused to produce that? I believe it's because it doesn't exist. It's a forged document, ECF number 12. That's why there's no pro se filing receipt. I haven't forged documents and filed them in court. I wouldn't do that. I would expect you'd go to jail for something like that. How come him and his brother haven't? I don't have any plea agreements. Does Blake Bednar's work for the Department of Justice? Because you see, the other guy that I know who has a plea agreement is Felix Sater. He's also a convicted criminal, and he's also worked for the Department of Justice and the FBI and the CIA and the DIA. I'm not saying that Blake Bednar's does, but it sure seems like it. And why did Blake delete all of his stuff? He could have done what I'm doing right now, counteract what I said about him with actual evidence. George said I'm a porno director. He described this video of the two girls with the bikini. That's the full video. You can watch it. It's on 21st Century 3D. Go onto YouTube, 21C3D. That's the channel. My old 21st Century 3D channel. They tried to delete that too. It's still there. 3D bikini car wash. I'm not going to tell you the names of the girls who are in it because then people will go harass them. But they're not porn stars. They're not strippers. They're just friends of mine. That was like Memorial Day weekend, 2010 or something like that. I invited them over for a barbecue and said, hey, do you guys want to help me test my 3D camera? They said, sure. George is making up crap. I don't think anything he said today about me was true. And he's doing something. He's trying to control some aspect of this story, insinuate himself into this Charlie Kirk assassination. I haven't been following what he's been saying about it, but I can assure you that virtually everything that he says is false. He is an absolute liar, drunk, Totally irresponsible moron. Him and his brother are a scourge on humanity. They should be in jail. That's the truth of the matter. Why are they so focused on me? You know, Blake Bednarz, I didn't do this to smear him. I did this to show everyone that he is a serial fraudster. Insurance fraud, these aren't minor crimes. And you know what? If he was doing good journalism and being an honest guy, I wouldn't have even looked into this. It's that he's been lying about me. Blake has falsified evidence about Charlie Kirk, made up defamatory statements and lies about me. He said that I gave out his phone number and instructed people to call him and threaten his wife. I did no such thing. I only called Blake after Chris Martenson demanded that I do that. Sounds like another setup to me. Anybody have Lee Stranahan's phone number? Here. Oh, Jason contacted me. Jason, you should go give the money to Blake Bednarz. Hello, Blake, can I give you the money? Oh, Jason's harassing me. This is how these guys work. They're social engineers, they're liars, and you shouldn't believe them. Listen, I'll speak to any of these guys. Chris Martenson, Blake Bednarz, George Webb, any of them. I will speak to them in an open way about anything they want to talk about. I guarantee they will each and every one of them refuse to do it. I suspect because they know that I would prove that they're liars and they would lose any shred of credibility that they might have. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please sponsor the show. Washington, D.C. definitely seems relatively crime-free. We still have thugs working for the U.S. Capitol Police. Won't even let me as a journalist ask a question of a congressperson. That was disgraceful. Shame on the U.S. Capitol Police, one of the most incompetent police organizations in the nation. Sponsor the show on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Don't forget to follow me on X at JG_CSTT. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. And thanks to everyone who has sponsored the show. You made this road trip possible. Have a great day, DC.